I pressed to take the autopilot off, and it's so laggy that it hasn't come off. Is this what's happening in your flights in Microsoft Flight Simulator? Yeah, Dr. Phil, I was sitting right beside his wife on the show. There was the New Adventures of Old Christine. And then there was a CTD. No. Okay, so we still got CTD issues. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 ways to reduce your CTDs while increasing your frame rate. Whether you're on a low-end graphics card or the latest RTX 4090 GPU. So let's first diagnose any issues with your CPU, GPU, or RAM usage. What we can do here is click on Escape. Come here to General Options. You want to go down to Developer, put on Developer Mode, apply and save. Once you get back out, you resume. Under your debug, rendering, display FPS. This will now show you your FPS coming from the sim. And here it's showing main thread is in red. We're at 20 frames per second. But if you are on a 4090 graphics card, or you have frame generation on in DX12, then what you should be using is MSI Afterburner. So I'm going to get MSI Afterburner on, and what it also does is it brings in the there's a stats add-on, so then we can see here what exactly is going on with the PC. So my GPU utilization is 35% at the moment. Memory usage, so this is your VRAM, coming from the graphics card. So we're at 16.3 gigabytes, and in my case, it's I've got the 4090, so that is that's 24 gigabytes of VRAM. So we're already using 16.3, and then CPU usage here. These are all my cores on a AMD Ryzen 9 7950 X3D. So you can see that not all the cores, all the threads are being used. RAM is at 29 gigabytes, and I've got 64, and then it's showing here with the DX12 21 frames per second. So even with the frame generation, we're actually equal. It's the frame generation is either not on or not working. But let's figure this out, because this is not the settings that I normally use. What I have here is there's no FSLTL and there's no GSX Pro, which I use on a regular basis. I have multiplayer on, AI traffic on, but it's a simulated AI traffic, and it's at 100%. Let's just go take a look at the settings. We want to go Escape, General, and then here Graphics. So we do have the frame generation on, and now that we're out of the airport area, you can see the difference now. The frame generation is really kicking in. We got 65 frames per second, while up here at the top right, it's 30. It really doesn't matter if you got a 4090 or if you got a 2080. I had a 2080 Ti up until just a couple of weeks ago. The big thing where I got rid of CTDs and increased the FPS was going to the 4090, but not everyone can afford to go to the 4090. You can do some of these things that it will help you right away, even on a lower end graphics card, whether you got like a 3070, a 2070 Super. You're not gonna have the frame generation, but other than that, we can work on increasing your frame rate and also decreasing your chances of a CTD. The first thing is you want to come here, your traffic. So I have here AI offline. I have 100%. Put that right down to 0, and even turn that off. Nameplates will take some. It's going to use up your resources, but you could turn that off. I turn it off because then I don't need to see name tags flying all over the place. But if you're in a group, yeah, might as well, because you want to see who's flying around you. You know, if you're doing a group flight, that way you know who's right next to you or whatever. But I turn those off. Airport life, this right down to 0, right down to 0, and worker density right down to 0. What I recommend is, because like at this point, now it is using up a lot of GPU because of all that aircraft AI traffic. But like CPU's not really being used. It's the RAM is like less than half my RAM. So what I recommend is getting FSLTL, which is free, and then injecting that, because what will happen is you can then set how much and how far, at what distance they'll start rendering in some of the AI traffic that is real life traffic. That the other thing, so that's free. And then for the ground stuff, I would recommend going with GSX Pro, because then it's actually then going to use your GPU rather than like it actually ends up being better. We'll see this once we go back in the sim. So that's all done. Let's go back in, apply, go back, resume. So already I'm at 60 to 65 frames per second with my frame generation. My frames without frame generation is at 30. Now if we now inject FSLTL. So I'm just going to get that here. So you can actually get that through the fly-by-wire installer. And then that's where you're going to manage your the injection. Now aircraft are now popping in with the FSLTL. And I've also got GSX Pro. And for some reason I always have to click on it twice. But let's operate the jetway. Air Canada. My FPS has dropped a bit, but it's not at the same. It's much higher than what it was when I had the Microsoft AI traffic. What I find is that Microsoft AI traffic is more resource intensive. Even look up here, my GPU memory, it's gone down a little bit. RAM RAM is about the same, but still CPU, look at all those threads that aren't even being used. So that is one way of increasing your FPS, but let's take a look at a couple more. Second thing you want to do is delete your rolling cache. So the way you do that is you go into your graphic settings, your general options. We'll go down to traffic. See here. Sorry, actually it's in data. Go into data, and you can actually turn off live real world air traffic, because then that will delete your AI traffic also. here you're going to go down to rolling cache settings. I don't even have a rolling cache, but if you have this as on, and then you put in your limit that you want, because my current data consumption 45 gigabytes. Thing is, I'm on unlimited internet, so it really doesn't matter. This here, deleting your rolling cache, you want to delete that every time you do a world update, or when you import or download freeware and payware add-ons. Because the thing is that the cache file, the cache is there from holding on to previous data. So like this, like if you're flying into Toronto and you're constantly flying into Toronto, and that reminds me of one of the first clips that you saw. That was me coming into Toronto on my 4090, not on the 2080 Ti. The CTD was on the 2080 Ti. But that is one thing you want to do, is have the rolling cache on, because that way you're coming into Toronto, it keeps that area in memory. And then once you've hit your cache limit, it's just going to roll. So then the oldest stuff is going to get deleted. New stuff just gets added in. But like I said, on a world update, or when you've put in some new scenery, you want to make sure you delete that rolling cache, because you want to get rid of the old data that was there. Here I'm going to put 50 gigabytes. I've got plenty of room for that. And then it'll actually ask you which path you want it to go to. That's fine. So then here, click on delete, and then that's done. Now the third thing, in order to help you increase your FPS, we'll take a look at that in just a moment here. But let's just go back to the let's apply and save. Let's just go back to the airport here in Montreal. And yeah, so we're roughly at about the same level. Like it's like 50 to 55, and then without the frame generation, just under 30 frames per second. Now let's go into the last part, which is outside of the simulator. You're gonna want to make sure that you have the simulator turned off before you do this next thing. The last thing you want to do is after you've gotten out of the simulator, go into your file explorer, and you're gonna want to go to your C drive or the drive where you have your Microsoft Flight Simulator set up on. You want to go then to this. I have Microsoft Flight Simulator from the Microsoft Store. I'll also put the path for those that are on Steam. I'll have that path here up on the screen for you. So you go so for Microsoft Store, users, you want to go see users, then your user, then you want to go to your AppData, and then it's going to be local packages. And then you're going to find the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then there's like a underscore and then like 8 and a whole bunch of letters and numbers. So you go there, and then now you're going to go into LocalCache, and then into SceneryIndexes. And in my case, I've got 499 items. You might not have as much, but what will happen is, whether it's stuff that you've bought, payware, freeware, or world update items, could all be in here. So you're going to want to click on the top one. If you're on the PC, well, you most likely are on PC. You're going to press the top one, press Shift, and then press the bottom one, and then it takes them all. And then you're going to hit the delete button. Oh, wow. It's like, oops. Major fail here. Where do these files go? Don't worry. When you restart the sim, it's actually going to re-index everything. So it's pretty much cleaning up that index so that if you had some old stuff that was in there, and then let's say you replaced it with a new scenery, well, it's just going to make sure that everything is all clean. And the thing is over time, as your index gets bigger and bigger, you could end up with more issues, whether it's frame rate or CTDs lagging, that kind of stuff. So now let's go back into Flight Simulator and see how this goes. Now that we're loading up the sim for the first time after deleting the index files, it might take a little bit more time on the start because it's going to be indexing that. And it all depends on how many add-on sceneries and world updates you've got. But in my case, there was 499 files that have to be re-indexed. So, it might take an extra couple of minutes on the restart. All right, so we're in the cockpit here, and yes, I am using a Tobii Eye, so I am moving. And so you can see here the frames per second is about 50 inside the cockpit, 25 without the 26 without the frame generation. Let's go to the drone, and let's go back up where we were, roughly, and look at, we're at about 70 frames per second with frame generation, and we're about 37 frames per second according to the developer mode. The other thing is for me, I'm actually running 4 1440p monitors, but I only have this on my middle monitor. But and plus I got streaming stuff, video editing. So it's not just all this on the left hand side. All the stats is not just from the simulator. It's from the streaming and the other things that I got on in the background. And a bonus tip is, let's say you're on the ultra settings, well, and you're having a hard time with FPS, it might be time to bring it down to high end. Just if that happens, just go to high end on the default side, and if you are DX12 on lower end, you could probably still stay on there, but at least bring your global rendering quality down from ultra to high end. And the other thing is I keep my glass cockpit refresh rate at medium. I had it on high, which is the highest when I first got my PC, but what I'm finding is in the E-Jets, all the panels are all rendered separately, and they take up a lot of FPS. So I've actually dropped it from high down to medium, and that can help you within the cockpit, because for the most part, you're going to be flying within the cockpit and not always out in the drone mode or exterior mode. And in this video, I haven't really done any movement on the ground. Well, hopefully with these tips, you'll be able to reduce or get rid of your CTDs and increase your frame rate. If this video has helped you out, make sure to let me know in the comments below. And if it really helped you and you want to support the channel, you can always leave a super thanks in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.